Yes, it's absolutely continuity of agenda, and it's continuity of agenda rebranded and sold to the public as "Make America Great Again" or America First. And I tried to warn about this months before the 2024 elections, and there were headlines where then Vice President nominee JD Vance said, "We cannot send weapons to Ukraine because we need to send them to go provoke a wider conflict with China." And then when people asked, what do we do about Ukraine? He essentially said, we will freeze the conflict. He didn't say they were going to end it. They talked about a demilitarized zone and essentially freezing it, which is exactly what the US did in Syria. And we saw how that ended up. So the goal was never to end any of these conflicts. Of course, the American people always want to see these conflicts ended. That is who they always vote for in these elections. They're always given promises by whoever it is, whether it's Donald Trump or Barack Obama, that they're going, or even remember George Bush Jr. said no more global policemen. This has been going on throughout the entire 21st century and most of the 20th century. They tell you what you want to hear, but not really. If you listen carefully, like JD Vance was laying out before the elections, even they always intended to keep these wars going. They always planned on shifting responsibility from the U.S. primarily to Europe to kind of just keep the conflict going so that the U.S. can pivot elsewhere. This is called division of labor and strategic sequencing. And I was pointing out Project 2025. This is under the Heritage Foundation, funded by the arms industry, other large corporations. There's the Marathon Initiative, and there's the America First Policy Institute. And these were all connected to President Trump. Many of these people were from his first administration. And each one of these policy think tanks and the papers they were producing laid all of this out in explicit details. They talked about ramping up funding for NATO, getting Europe to pay more for NATO so the US could pivot toward China. The Marathon Initiative actually had a paper titled Strategic Sequencing, where they said there needs to be this division of labor so that the US doesn't have to fight all of these wars by itself at one time. And then once coming into office, in February, so right at the very beginning, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth told Europe, you are going to spend 5% on NATO, on military matters. You're going to double down on Ukraine. You're going to get your troops ready to go into Ukraine if necessary, if the opportunity presents itself. You're going to spend more, and we need to pivot to China. So that was the division